Now I think what I'm gonna be doing today is we got them pretty well cleaned out, and I think I'm going to take these and stack them on top of these to make them taller raised beds, and then just use the fill dirt from those to put in here, and then we'll top it with some compost and stuff. What's going on, everybody? This Cam here, Easy Work Acres, and we are on day 2 of trying to get these garden beds ready to go for spring. Last time we moved the pigs over our in-ground beds to try and get them to till up the area. We had to pull up a whole bunch of like weed fabric from last year, and then starting to like take care of our raised beds. So today we are going to move the pigs. Now it's been, this will be day 3 since the pigs have been on this spot. It's early in the morning, so they haven't been here a whole 3 days. But they've tilled up the area real nice. This is the area now. Like basically there was rows with like cover crop between, and they have uprooted everything completely. And you can even see, like, which we got Harlan the dinosaur over here, and these pigs are hungry, like they're ready to eat. So we're about to move them, and basically we just put their feed somewhere else. But there's like some big roots out there even that they have uprooted real nicely and got them out of there. So I think when we're ready to make our rows, this is gonna be great. Now, like I said in the last video, I think we overdid it last year and just made the garden simply way too big for what we could handle. I do think we're in a better place to handle a bigger garden this year, but we're still gonna downsize just to be sure and try and like basically just recollect and just have a good season growing and enjoy it. So last year we did 5 in-ground rows, and I think we're only gonna do 2 this year, and we're actually going to make the above ground beds a little less. We're gonna make some fewer of them this year. So I'm gonna get these pigs moved. They're hungry, they're ready to get out of here. And then we'll move over here to the raised beds and we'll start working on those. Alrighty, so we have the pigs moved over there, and this is looking good and tilled up, but I think this is not gonna be where our garden bed is this year, sadly. If you look real close, like this is still really packed. Like over here is nice and crumbly. And that is because where the weed fabric was, I think it just got so packed that not even the pigs were able to root it up. So I think this area needs some rest, which we've done a garden bed or some sort of sunflower field on this area the last like 2 to 3 years. Hey, can y'all take y'all's bickering on somewhere else? Take y'all's bickering somewhere else. But this has been used for like 2, going on 3 years now. So I think the plan is to move the pigs over here where all this stuff is, and basically we'll make our 2 in-ground rows here running straight off of our raised beds and out. And I think that is gonna be the plan for this year. We just don't wanna make another mistake with like being set in our ways and that's the spot where the garden bed's gonna be, because it's just not, I think it's just been used too many times. I don't know if you remember when we did the sunflower field, you know, we really like tilled or raked that up. People got all kinds of crappy about that, but like essentially we used a box blade to scar the ground to loosen it up for us to be able to plant sunflower seeds. So technically it wasn't tilling, it was scarring, whatever. But either way, that's what we did there. So that happened, and I think that kind of really actually ended up making the ground pretty hard. And then we went ahead and made raised beds, in-ground beds there last year, and maybe the ground being hard might have been part of the reason that stuff didn't grow so well last year on top of the drought. And then you add in the weed fabric on top of that, and then the pigs couldn't even till this up. So definitely moving them, I think, is the right move for this season, and I think that's what we're gonna do. And we will be hard raking that out to smooth out any pits and holes that they kind of burrowed in. Now, the next order of business is these raised beds. Now, I think what I'm gonna be doing today is we got them pretty well cleaned out, and I think I'm going to take these and stack them on top of these to make them taller raised beds, and then just use the fill dirt from those to put in here, and then we'll top it with some compost and stuff. And I'll just use that crappy short raised bed there at the end. I'll use the wood off of it to brace these up to put them together. But I think that's what we're gonna do today, is go ahead and get rid of these raised beds, stack them on top of these 2, and then I'm gonna have to probably replace those all together, the 2 square ones, which we're not gonna get into that today. We're just gonna deal with this and then get this area cleaned up. Okay, well, that came up way easier than I thought it was going to. I was expecting to really have to try on that sucker. So we may have definitely let these beds go a lot last year. I'll tell you what, the fertilizer kept doing its job because there's about a gajillion worms in these beds, which is good news for us. Oh yeah, I think that's gonna mend up nicely. Let's get this stacked on top of the other. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna like this height a lot better, a whole lot better.
You stay over there. You stay over there.
Now don't get me wrong, last year we were trying to get many beds in for as cheap as possible because we were limited on funds, but man, a bed this height would be so much better. Like I don't even have to really like bend over, and my wife for sure, she's shorter than me, she won't have to bend over like at all really to work in this. So this is gonna be nice. I'm excited for this. This is gonna be sweet. All right, I'm gonna fix that board. I'm gonna go ahead and take that board up because I'm gonna use the wood off of this end bed here to start mending this up and like basically connect the two beds together. And I'm gonna connect them from the outside this time. I think it'll help the wood last a little bit longer instead of it having wet dirt against it all the time. These are cedar boards, so they look in good shape, but the 2x4s that we put them together with are not looking like they're in the greatest of shape. So we'll put the boards on the outside this time and see how it goes from there. We're just gonna keep using what we already have here as much as possible, just again to save on funds and make this a little more doable. I'm gonna try my best to use the old screws. Got a little wiggle in them, little bend. We're gonna try and get them to drive. Now I did end up cutting these just a little bit shy of the top from like the ground, basically, so that there's a little bit of space. Now it's sitting on top of like a pile of something right here, which actually helps line up. But basically, that way when I have it at the top, this isn't sitting on the ground anymore, because I think that'll help with you know, it not soaking up a bunch of moisture from the ground, especially on this untreated board. But also, once I get all this together and this is all built, I also think I'm actually going to go through and like stain all this year. I'm going to stain the outsides because surprisingly, the inside of these cedar planks look in better shape than the outsides do, which definitely goes to show how much the sun can really do some work on the wood. So I think we're going to be staining the outsides of these, and it'll just like spruce them up, make them look prettier and stuff. This is like right out the front window of our house, so I would really like this to look pretty. It's been rather depressing it looking this crappy for like the last like basically 8 months. So we're ready to, you know, get our stuff together and get this garden looking pretty. So let's get to mounting this here. One more thing I want to do before I get too deep into this is something that we hated, is the distance between these beds is so narrow. It's just a pain in the butt, and you can't kneel down between them because you're like your foot's hitting one while you're in. It's a pain. So I'm gonna scoot this out maybe just a couple inches. I think I'm gonna make it just under 4 foot wide, so that when we put the 4 foot roll down, that it goes right under those. But that's another thing I'm gonna do, is go ahead and get the daggone the weed fabric down around this, before I start staking anything and getting it all set and then backfilled, and then I can't lift it up. I'd like to get the weed fabric to go up under it a little bit so I'm not having weeds creeping out from the bed and dealing with that all the time. So before I get this stake down and backfilled, I'm gonna get the weed fabric down real quick and go ahead and roll at least around maybe these 2 beds and get that done. Alrighty, so we got that down and under there, but for me to continue, I keep just having to backstep, is I need to go ahead and get that one both moved that direction and that direction, because I plan on making, when I replace those, I'm gonna make this 4 foot wide. It's only 3 foot wide right now. So I need to go ahead and make this 4 foot wide so that it lines up and everything, you know, everything's straight. So I gotta move this one too. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it just so I can go ahead and get all the fabric down, and then I'll keep going from there. All right, so we finally got all of this around these beds here. And basically, I'm gonna hold off on this side because I'm gonna replace those beds. But kind of wanted to show you what I got going on here on this side. So this side right here was terribly unlevel. So I had to brick up those corners there. And if you get low here, you can see I have some bricks that are turned vertical on the inside there to kind of trap the dirt in. That way, like where I had to lift it up, there's bricks there too. It's just I already covered that with dirt, but I wanted you to be able to see what I got going on here. Basically, so as I backfill, you know, I'm not having a bunch of dirt pouring out from under this side here. That's what I did there. And you know, I got some logs that I'm just like old dead logs that are no good for burning in our fireplace. We split a lot of wood, and I had plenty of just like dead wood and stuff laying around. And this is nothing new. Lots of people do this in raised beds, especially these big daddies like this, where it's like really deep and you have a lot of dirt to fill. That wood over time, I mean, it'll take a long time because these are pretty thick logs, but they'll break down just like anything else. And it's a good way to just put in some filler in the base when our veggie plants are like never even going to reach this deep. This is more so raising this high to combat weeds and make it more convenient for us while we're working in the garden. So I'm going to unload that wheelbarrow into this here bed here, and then I'll start backfilling the rest of this dirt on top. It's still going to need some compost on top to freshen it up, but I'm going to fill this up as much as I can with some of the wood and then the dirt that I already have, and then just top it with some fresher stuff, just a thin layer on the top. All right, so we have these filled up as much as they're going to be filled up for now until we get more compost. You know, at that point, I'm just scraping it like, you know, roots and stuff I don't want in here. So I got it pretty well filled up to about like the top 8 to 10 inches. It just depends on the spot. There's a few low spots in there, but overall, I got it filled up pretty well to where I won't have to get too much compost. There's a nursery down the road, and I'll be able to get it by the bucket load, so that should help on cost on this to fill these in. But I'm really considering doing double deckers like this over there, because I think this is just going to be so daggone convenient and helpful on us throughout the summer, because I still want to grow enough to be able to sell some, not just for the family this year. So just making things easier as far as having to weed and the just like back-breaking work, being bent over and stuff, will be so helpful. But that is all that we are going to be getting into today. So this ends day 2 of trying to recover this garden and get it going good for the season. We got like a big church thing tonight, and it is getting late, so we got to get to that. So we're going to get cleaned up and head out. So bless all of you. For those of you that stayed and watched this video, I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for watching, and you have an absolutely blessed evening, afternoon, weekend, week, whatever day it is that you are watching this. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.